Jeff, ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Nick, ready? Uh-huh. Yeah, let's go, Mike. All right, let's do it.
Freshly picked and ready for consumption. Here comes another round of the Radishcast.
Another Radishcast coming in for you. I'm your fearless commissioner and lonely man Mike Fisher. Along with me, just like every time, I'm my co-host Nick Sick Ditch Stoll and Jeff Sick Ditch Gregory. Let's turn some rumors into facts. It's just me, guys. It's fine. This should be good, right? I can just kind of talk to myself all show and throw ideas off myself, and all my points are going to sound great with no one to contradict me or anything like that. So I think that'll be fine. We'll just roll with it, right? We got some other stuff coming. People are coming back. Just no one's here with me right now, but we'll make something happen. Week 10 money goes to Cooley with Debo Samuel. So congrats to Cooley, as much as I don't want to congratulate you. You got 2 more weeks, I think, two or 3 more weeks of me being hospitable, and then things are going to change real quick. So, but no, some money coming to Cooley, and this week 11, is the highest scoring player picked up off of waivers. So no money to give out this week, but the winner gets 10 extra fab dollars next year, which can be important, especially if you're like me and spend over 90 fab dollars on Adrian Peterson, only to never have to play him. So maybe I'll play him this week just to try to get money. Who knows? With all that out of the way, tough to make some witty remarks to myself here, but we're going to jump into a quick little interview with the Mud Dog Ownership Group. Let's check that out. All right. In here with the Mud Dog Ownership Group, both members of the SCLSU Mud Dogs. Welcome, Troy.
Oh,
welcome,
baby.
Joe.
Thanks for having us, Fish.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's nice to have you guys here. We got a little bit of a different style interview prepared for today, but we'll start out with just I kind of want to get your guys' take on maybe how the co-manager life is working out. Any major disagreements? You guys at each other's throats every day. Troy, bringing in a co-manager. How's that handled the first year?
Yeah, I'd say things have been smooth. I mean, wasn't really concerned coming in. Just this guy's one of my best friends all time. We've always kind of agreed on just lots of important stuff. So, never really a concern, but I don't know, from my perspective, it's smooth. Love having him, bouncing ideas and stuff. It's some excuse to stay in kind of constant contact. So I've really, really enjoyed that myself. But, Joe, what's your take?
Yeah, for sure. Biggest thing is, Troy and I are able to stay in contact, and that's been really cool. And no disagreements. I'd like to say that I'm more involved than I am. Troy probably, handles a lot more of the day-to-day stuff, and he's able to bounce ideas off me. But yeah, no disagreements, and it's been pretty smooth. So
You're the big picture guy. Troy's the day-to-day.
Yeah, Troy's got to come to the front office whenever he needs anything. So.
That's it's a lot of fun. Like I know me and Joe were chatting a little bit before this. I have a feeling over the course of the years, other people are going to follow this trend because having co-managed a team with my dad in the past, it is just a great way to keep in touch and be able to get together with somebody. This podcast is like that for me, Nick and Jeff, right? It's an excuse for us to get together every week and chat for an hour. So I see a ton of value in it. So no, glad to hear you guys are having fun. So Joe, it's not been too overwhelming jumping in with a bunch of guys you don't know and trying to keep up on who the hell Stank is and who the hell
So luckily at Troy's bachelor party I was able to meet probably over half of these guys, and then a couple more at the wedding, so I do know some of them. But I know Stank. Oh yeah. So
I believe
yeah, no, it's cool.
Dose of Chartier as well. So
Oh yeah,
unfortunately.
for that guy.
Yeah, hopefully he's still practicing cornhole. I don't know when I'll see him again, but always a good time with that guy.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, like I mentioned, we're gonna have a little different style interview. So as you can tell, I am by myself as far as the regular hosts are concerned. Some hunting going on and stuff this week. So as a little treat to our double guest feature, we're gonna do the actual Radish recap, the recap of all our matchups with our two guests here. So let's hop right into it.
This here's the Radish recap.
I'll lead you guys off with your own matchup. So we got the SCLSU Mud Dogs and coaches Joe Harper and Troy Heck taking on the Aaron Rodgers football team and Coach Tony Fisher. Football team came into this one as a 26-point favorite, took the win 118-73, covering that line. So, Joe, why don't I throw it to you first? What'd you see in this matchup going in and coming out of it?
Yeah, for sure. Pat Mahomes, great game. He's been up and down for us, I would say, pretty much the whole year. He's had a lot of picks this year. We started Le'Veon Bell. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of other options at running back right now. And actually, I think he just got released from the Ravens today. So, yeah, 0.1 points. That's gonna hurt you no matter what. So, and then you got Derek Gore. I think that's his name. Yeah, so a couple
always good when you can't remember the guy's first name.
Yeah, a couple of guys there that hopefully you're going into it, you're hoping they can get you a few points, but obviously 2 points from the both of them, that's going to hurt anybody. So Pat Freiermuth had a fumble late in the game. He had a few good weeks, and he's coming along, and hopefully as the season down the stretch happens, he'll keep coming along. And Pitts did okay too. So down week, but yeah. So
yeah, definitely. The Freiermuth was involved, and you like to see that, especially from a rookie tight end. Getting that at any point is a big plus here. Not a great week having the Bengals on bye. I know that's a big part of your offense is Joe Mixon and sometimes P Ryan as well. Troy, anything else on your side of the ball, and maybe touch on what you're seeing on the other side with Tony.
Yeah, so to wrap things up on our side of the ball, wasn't overly optimistic coming out of the Thursday night game. I mean, 0.1 out of Lev Bell, that's just the standard to start off the fantasy week. So, but I don't know, things kind of got worse from there. Came out of the afternoon games on Sunday, hoping to get out of the 30s. Like, that's just downright pathetic. And luckily, Mahomes and the Chiefs offense got right. He, did a better job about, picking apart the zone, taking underneath and, to intermediate, occasional deep shots rather than kind of the other way around. Mm-hmm. Watching the game, I mean, trusted the offensive line to stand in the pocket a little more, and instead of just bailing, just makes things tough, playing that way and kind of creating a situation where there's more pressure in your face outside the pocket than there would have been if you'd just been a little more patient. Mm-hmm. So that was good to see. 5 TDs, can't complain about that. On the other side of the ball, see a lot of balance, just going down. Josh Allen's having a great year. Projected 24, got 21. Can't complain about that if you're T-Fish. DeAndre Swift, love that guy as a Lions fan, but holy shit, 36 touches, 33 carries. Swift doesn't scream 33 carries to me, like personnel wise. I know they're missing Jamal Williams, but boy, oh boy, I mean, seems like they could have got, number 3 and number 4 on the roster a little bit more involved in the running game. Lions rushed for 230 in that one. The number 3 and number 4 had, I believe, 5 carries for 90 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't know. I feel like Lions are best served with Swift getting 15 to 20 carries and maybe 10 targets. I feel like T-Fish is wanting that like every week. So if you're going to tell me that Swift got 36, touches in this game and came away with 15 points, I'm taking that all day as an opponent. But didn't matter, had enough production otherwise, lots of balance, not really reliant on any one guy. He's got some pieces. He's got a chance this year, like his roster. Don't love having, a physical, punishing running back with a neck injury. Carson makes this team different to me if he can get back and get right. This dude's trouble for the league, I think. But, don't love that neck injury.
Yeah, and a youthful team too, right? You look at those 3 receivers. He's got 2 rookies in there, and then Justin Jefferson only in his second year. If those 2 rookies continue to grow, he's got Michael Thomas that he hasn't even been able to play at any point. If he comes back right next year, it's going to be years in the making of a problem of a team a little bit. So, but at the same rate, things change so quickly, right? A team of Allen Robinson and Calvin Ridley and Deshaun Watson would have looked pretty great coming into this year until it happened. So you can never predict how those things happen. But I totally see what you're saying. Just a real balanced outing. No one really exploded for him, but still put up 117, which was the 3rd best on the week. So definitely a game to be happy about if you're Tony in this one. Well, we move on to our next matchup. So we got Grizzly Adams and Coach Alex Cooley taking on Cobra Kai and Coach Kyle Stankowski. Grizz came into this one as a 12-point favorite, covered that one by quite a bit, 124-76. Troy, why don't you walk me through what you see on Cooley's side of the ball in this one?
Yeah, Week 11 blowout week continues here with Cooley getting a massive win over the Cobra. Devontae Smith, he's got to be happy with moving up to pick him up in the rookie draft last year. Really coming on strong. One of the catches of the year, high pointing it over his, Alabama teammate there in the end zone. That was badass. I'm sure he jumped out of his chair for that one. Deebo Samuel, just what a monster. Oh my gosh. Like when he goes, San Francisco's tough. And with that running game and the defense, I like Deebo the rest of the way here. Hunter Renfrow, super underrated player. Not a flashy guy, not a big name, but productive, wins somehow. Can't cover him. Not much production from running backs, but didn't need it. Huge flex play. Again, Kansas City, Travis Kelce's, makes this team different. Last year, he was getting about 20 a game out of the kicker spot. Young Wei is not having that quite, not quite productive as that this year, but didn't need it. Lamar Jackson, he's not going to be scoring 15 every week. He could put that up in rushing.
I think that's one of the scariest parts about this team to me, right? Is you're not going to see a 15-point game from Lamar very often. So if you're telling me that Lamar's having what we all consider a down week and he's putting up 124, right? This is exactly the recipe for success that Cooley had last year. He didn't have much of anything from the running back spot, but Kelsey and Lamar were enough to get him different, and his wide receivers were solid enough. A couple blow-up games here and there that took him all the way to a championship. So, Joe, why don't I toss it over to you for Kyle's side of the ball? What'd you see with Stank here?
Yeah, Stank, not a very good week. He's had better, but I think the big thing here, you have Hawkinson with a zero ball there. That's huge. And as a Detroit Lions fan, you got to see him more involved. And I don't know what he had for target wise, but zero for fantasy, that's always tough to overcome. And then he's got Elijah Mitchell, who had, I think, 27 touches, for 91 yards and ended up getting I think a fractured finger at the end. Unfortunately for Stank, but fortunately for the SCLSU Mud Dogs, Jeff Wilson, if Elijah Mitchell has to miss any time, that's a huge win for us, being able to slide Wilson into a running back play for us. Devontae Adams, he was Devontae Adams, only 11.3, but that Green Bay offense sputtered a little bit. I know Aaron Jones went down, and AJ Dillon I think is going to fit right in, without really missing any beats. That dude's he's an animal. So not a very good flex in Tim Patrick this week, but yeah, he's got some potential, week to week. I think Jalen Hurts is coming along pretty decent, and Adam Thielen, he's battling with Jefferson for targets, but yeah, and then you got Landry. For the Browns, who, Jesus, what happened to the Browns this week? That's tough. So we'll see moving forward. But yeah, Hawkinson, I thought that was the big takeaway from this week with a 0. So
yeah, and Hawk started the year so strong, right? It really just looked like he was going to be, the next big tight end, the next great thing, and he's kind of just sputtered a bit since then. He's had some okay weeks, but he's had some real down weeks. To see a 0-pointer, Mike Gesicki had the same thing this week, coming out with 0 points, and you just you see that from some of those big guys, and you got to think someone that's that talented, if you're going to make that leap into being one of the best, you shouldn't be able to get game scripted out. You shouldn't be able to, they should be able to force the ball into your hands. So, especially in an overtime game, you had an extra 10 minutes of play. It was just a rough day for the whole Lions passing attack, though. I know Goff finished that game with, 122 yards or something right around there. It was not very pretty for them. So, tough
target. One target for Hawkinson in that game.
I don't know how you can walk away from a game plan like that and only give, probably your best receiver outside of the running backs one target, right? You don't have some stud receiving room that you can lean on. So you got to think you got to give him more than one target moving forward.
He's got to be their number one option for, down the field pass catching, and it's not close. And then the Lions wide receiver position group is probably the worst position group in the NFL. Like any position, either side of the ball. And I'd say it's probably not close. They need him, to be successful as a team. Stank needs him. He's got all the ability in the world. He's just gotta come up with some production.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to our next matchup here. So we got I Am Left-Handed and Coach Kyle Monroe taking on Benny and the Jets and Coach Ben Stelzer. Lefties were an 8-point favorite in this one. Took it to them 131-106. So, I know myself and the other hosts kind of thought Benny would have a better game here. Thought he had some good matchups. I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to have a better game against Seattle here. I thought, Tyler Lockett, as part of that Green Bay game, would have to play some catch up, get some nice balls. But Russ didn't look like himself. Russ, we'll get to that later, obviously. But Russ did not have a very great game. We talked about Gesicki putting up the goose egg. Stephon Diggs with a get right game though. He hasn't been what he was last year or even close to it most of the season. So to see him put up 26 points, 162 receiving yards and a touchdown, that's got to feel good if you're Benny. Give you some confidence in continuing to roll him. Not like you're ever going to sit him, but to feel like you got that guy. Okay, he's getting back. Delvin Cook's finally getting back to healthy where he's putting up solid games. Despite the loss here, I think some of Ben's guys are hitting, and maybe Ben can start to be a little bit happier with his team here. So, Joe, I'm gonna toss it to you. Is looking at Kyle's side of the ball. What are you seeing on there?
Yeah, Benny getting a little taste this week. Put up 130 last week, I think, or 130 something, I forget. But yeah, Kyle's side of the ball. Cordero Patterson, I think that's a guy that, he's had a really good year this year. And if you're a fantasy owner, Cordero Patterson, you're looking for that week in and week out. Be nervous if he can keep that production up. But, he had Dearness Johnson in this week with Nick Chubb out. That was huge. And Troy and I were actually talking, on Sunday. I had a few fantasy questions with Dearness Johnson, and we wondered if Bill Belichick would be able to scheme him out a little bit, given what he did. I think it was 3 weeks ago with like 25 points, but he still got his, and some of those were chunk yards too. I know he ripped off a couple of runs for over 20 yards and had a pretty long pass, but yeah, if you're Kyle scoring 130 points, you got to be happy with, a majority of that coming with the top half of his lineup. But Darren Waller, he's had some huge weeks, and he's also had some big time duds. So, and it'll be interesting to see what Devontae Freeman does down the stretch. They just released Lev Bell, and that makes me wonder, are they gonna get Tyson Williams back in that mix, or so we'll see. I know Latavius Murray is coming back from an injury, so we'll see what Devontae Freeman's able to do as far as snap share and production. So Tyreek Hill got his though, and that Chiefs offense got back on track. So Kyle's got to be pretty happy with this week.
Yeah, 3 guys getting 2 touchdowns between Hill, Lamb, and Elliott, right? It's just huge games from all those guys. That's a recipe for success if there is one. So, Troy, anything else you wanna highlight in this matchup before we move on?
Yeah, getting passable quarterback play, out of Garoppolo, it's gotta be somewhat happy with that trade, one day before game day. But, he made another couple of moves earlier this season, if not the preseason, and, buying in pretty heavily, to Dallas's offense.
Yep.
So he's got to just love seeing the piss pounding that Dallas put on Atlanta this week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Zeke and Lamb both just absolutely ate them alive. So gotta love to see that if you're Lefty and Monroe, Tyreek Hill, Kansas City, just book it. If they have a big offensive game, Tyreek's going to be in the mix. So, yeah, I mean, tough one. He's near the top of the power rankings, if not the number 1 spot, almost all year for a reason.
Yep. Yeah, that's it's going to be interesting. This might be a matchup we end up seeing. Both these teams are pretty well locked into the playoffs. So be curious to see if we get a rematch down the stretch. But moving on to our next matchup, we got Jay's Juggernauts and Coach Jeff Gregory taking on Lick McCaff and Dak and Coach Jordan Chartier. Dak was the 11-point favorite, took the win 94-70, covering that line. Troy, I'm gonna come right back to you. Give you Jordan's side of the ball here. What you got?
First of all, Prescott. I mean, I don't know if he was number 2 quarterback in the league, this week or what, but kind of made them go this week. Luckily didn't need much else because, outside of McCaffrey, didn't get a whole lot else. I mean, Fournette was involved in the running and the passing game, but boy, what a shocker there in Washington. Tampa Bay coming off the bye. I mean, that was one of, I'd say, 3 shockers, for me this week. And just, they got to get right. So, doubt that the running game looks any different. I'm sure Lenny will continue to be involved. So not necessarily concerned there, just more of a surprise from just a pure football perspective. Judy coming back, Sutton's kind of fallen off a cliff. If I'm Chartier, I'm concerned with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jacksonville, Marvin Jones, can't expect much out of Jacksonville this year. T.Y. Hilton, I mean, 1 point. I don't know if he's playable like the rest of the season. I know he's been hurt and dealing with injuries, and that's just tough to get a 1 burger there. But didn't need anything too heavy to get past the jugs this week.
Yeah. Jordan had a lot of players earlier this year where I was it could really win either way, right? Marvin Jones really had an opportunity when DJ Chark went down that he could have taken over that Jacksonville offense. Cortland Sutton, same situation, right? He really could have reestablished himself coming off the injury. Judy was out, and so he had the opportunity where you saw the path where this team could have been real good, but a lot of those guys not hitting. T.Y. Hilton, like you said, how long do you roll with a T.Y. Hilton versus taking your shot on a Gabe Davis or the guaranteed couple receptions from a Jamison Crowder every week? At least you're getting 5-6 points every week from him. So definitely some decisions coming up for Jord here. Joe, I'm going to toss Jeff's side of the ball to you. Not a lot to love other than Ramondre, but I'll let you talk through it.
Yeah, tough week for Jeff. Clearly, Matt Ryan, 0.68 points. That's tough to come back from, on any team. And so, Matt Ryan, he's had some bright spots this week. I know Troy and I obviously drafted Pitts. We were hoping, for a little more production for sure and consistent play from Matt Ryan, but we'll see how he does, moving forward. And yeah, Ramondre Stevenson, huge week. I mean, I don't know if anybody, I know obviously with Damian Harris hurt, we knew Stevenson was going to get some touches, but you just didn't know how much, they talked about JJ Taylor and they talked about Brandon Bolden being in the mix, but it'll be interesting to see what Stevenson can do down the stretch with Damian Harris getting healthy. And I mean, that's the Patriots for the last 4 years though, right? You think about when they had Rex Burkhead and, James White, and we'll see, kind of a four-headed monster there. And if you're Jeff, you'd love to see Stevenson kind of be the guy there, especially with, he's got to start Jacobs and Drake, on the same team. And he almost need one of those guys to go down so one of them can get 20 to 25 touches a game. But not a lot to be, happy about, I guess, if you're Jeff. And he does have some good pieces. I mean, Amari Cooper's had a decent year, and McLaurin is, I really like McLaurin. I think if Heineke can stay consistent, hopefully McLaurin can have a pretty good few years here coming up. But that's about all I got for Jeff's team. So
yeah, Jeff by far the one of the biggest proponents of, his team would look a lot different without some of these injuries. If you got a Travis Etienne at running back and a Calvin Ridley in here at wide receiver, his team's real different and is, down almost scary week to week, outside of that quarterback spot. That's a solid starting crew. But yeah, definitely, maybe some hope for Ramondre. It really seems like, you talked on the New England backfield and how they've been so hard to predict. It almost seems like Brandon Bolden is the only one you can't predict. He's basically the James White of years past with White out, and the rest of them are kind of all bouncing around, similar to the LeGarrette Blunts and the Rex Burkheads and everybody you've seen ping pong through there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out this week. I know we got Atlanta against New England this upcoming week, so if Damian Harris is back, does he play both? Does he stick with Ramondre? Does he go back to Damian Harris? So be an interesting set of decisions here for Jeff coming in. So
luckily for Jeff too, he's got Bolden. I think he's got JJ Taylor on his bench. So
yep.
Another case if we need someone to go down. So
yep. Yeah, and that's pretty much exactly what it was this week. Is Damian Harris was down, so it was like, okay, I feel confident in Ramondre, and it worked out for him
for sure.
But yeah, moving on to our next matchup, the Dad Bowl. We got Ball is Life and Coach John Lamers taking on Old Man Joe and Coach Joe Thomas. So Ball is Life came in as a 20-point favorite. We all thought he'd roll on that, but he took a little bit of trouble for him to squeak this one out. 8-point win, 92-84. This matchup will forever be the Dad Bowl, despite the fact that we've got more dads in the league every year. But this was the original, the first two dads in the league going at it. So it'll always be the Dad Bowl to me. Plus, we got the side bets. I'm really curious to see what John gets out of this win. He was sending me some texts. I sent him some ideas of some gag gifts he could buy for Joe, but curious to see what the payoff of the Dad Bowl is. But yeah, it was an ugly win, but a win's a win. You'd be surprised to know that Darrell Williams was the one that really carried him to the win here. No one really, I especially didn't see the Rams playing that poorly on Monday night there. Stafford and Henderson, he really relies on the Rams having a solid outing, which is usually a fair bet. But they looked out of sorts. I think part of it was losing Woods so close to the matchup. Right, you're set to have him take some coverage off of Kupp. Odell Beckham wasn't in the offense long enough to really take that wide receiver 2 role. So now you're saying, okay, Van Jefferson, you need to step up. Higbee, you need to step up. And Higbee straight dropping passes. So just a rough outing for the Rams there. And across the board, right? DK, we talked about that terrible Seattle game. Mike Williams has been real down lately. It's curious. You almost got to start considering benching him at some point if you've got the options to do it. I don't know that John does, but that's 4 weeks in a row of real disappointment. So that's got to be the threshold where what have you done for me lately? So but outside of that, it'll be, I'm sure John will appreciate having Jamar Chase back next week for that boom potential in his lineup, but of course he's going to be missing the Rams. But Troy, I'm gonna toss it over to you for Joe's side of the ball. What are you seeing over there?
Yeah, I gotta imagine the old man took his Viagra this week, because I believe he's the only underdog that got up and actually covered. So not a horrible, outing. Just outside of his wide receiver room. I think he's got to be disappointed with Jamal Williams in that running back spot up to this point. Denver uses draft capital on a running back. You got to expect him to just be more involved and, hopefully, produces more for him, I guess, the rest of the way. But he's got some dudes in that wide receiver room. They just didn't show up this week, outside of, I guess really anything. He literally didn't have any production really at all. And that could have been the difference in the game. The old man going to the old, SCLSU Mud Dogs 22 personnel package, with 2 tight ends, 1 in the flex. Huge flex play out of Hunter Henry. Too bad that was pretty much all he got. That's kind of what I see.
Yeah, it's interesting. Coming into this year, I thought Joe's strength was his wide receivers. You see he's got some of those guys that I was really high on. His weak point was kind of his running backs and his tight ends, and it's been the opposite, right? Hunter Henry's the wide receiver, or the tight end 3 through the year to this point, just because he's catching touchdowns at such an insane rate. And Carter's come on late. You hope to get more out of Javonte moving forward, but in a week where David Montgomery was on bye and Miles Sanders is still injured, he's got some options there. So kind of surprising. Still hasn't quite paid off for him. Not breaking the 85-point mark this week. He's been pretty consistently sub 100. So Joe, what anything else you got in this one?
Yeah, Troy, you had to bring in the heavy package there down at the goal line, didn't he? Yeah,
sure did.
Yeah, the extra lineman. So yeah, obviously Hunter Henry, big game out of him, and it was interesting to see coming into the season what the Patriots would do getting both of those tight ends. And I know another thing here is DJ Moore. It'll be interesting to see what he does down the stretch with. Is it going to be Cam Newton? Is it going to be PJ Walker? And I know beginning of the year, DJ Moore, he was cruising. Sam Darnold was more consistent, and he's kind of fallen off the map here. I think down the stretch, DJ Moore is going to need to produce for Joe to make a run here. So we'll see. Is it going to be the Cam Newton show? Will he bring DJ Moore back to life? So
yeah, it's interesting. I've seen a lot of people in fantasy circles excited about Cam Newton coming back and excited about what he's going to do for this offense. But it was, 9-10 weeks ago where everybody was talking about how terrible of a passer Cam Newton was and how he couldn't get it done and how he wasn't going to be able to support anybody in New England. So it's interesting how quickly people forget, right? There's a big difference between 2 goal line packages for you in a game where you throw a touchdown and you run one in, and actually doing it for a full game. So it'll be curious if they do turn it over to him. Yeah, exactly what it does for that offense. You can't be much worse than what Sam Darnold has been lately, but it'd be curious if he can really elevate it. So. All right, we'll move on to our last matchup here. So we got the Taint Ticklers and Coach Nick Stoll taking on the Archduke Fish and Coach Mike Fisher. Dukes came into this one as a 2-point favorite. I had to sweat it out to the very end, but took the 103-98 victory. Joe, I'm gonna give it to you. I don't want to talk about this matchup any more than I have to. What did you see on my side of the ball?
Yeah, so Jonathan Taylor's doing his thing, and I like the Rashad Bateman play here. You look at the last 3-4 weeks, the target share keeps going up, and Lamar Jackson, he's been pretty decent this year as far as throwing the ball. You get George Kittle back. What a stud to throw back in that lineup. And, he's been producing the last few weeks he's been back, and he's just an integral part of that offense, even running the ball. Such a good blocker, and, kind of a down game out of Tom Brady. Luckily on the other side, Russell Wilson, he shit the bed as well. So, you get a down week from Tom Brady. Hopefully you can pick up the slacks in some other places. And luckily Mike Evans got in the mix, and he was able to score a touchdown. And so pretty consistent throughout the lineup. Jacoby Myers, that's he scored his first touchdown of his NFL career, I think. Yeah, so yeah, pretty consistent play here. Down the stretch, you like to see Tom Brady, throwing the 3 to 5 touchdown passes a week. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good outing. But like you said, a close one, even going into last night. So
yeah, we got to talk about that a little bit pre-show about how that whole game I was just sweating. I ended with a 5-point win, but what that really meant is I was sitting there watching a 5-point lead while the Rams were in the red zone 3 different times and just thinking, the Higbee's just gonna catch some garbage 2-yard stupid touchdown and I'm gonna lose. And I was freaking out all game long, But yeah, like you said, to get Tom Brady to score poorly and for me to pull out a win is big for me. Mike Evans only got 3 targets in that. It was just a weird game all around. I'm not happy with what I saw there, but I have nothing to think that Tampa Bay is going to continue to struggle. So, Troy, I'm gonna throw it over to you for Nick's side of the ball. What do you got over there?
Yeah, why don't you hit it, Fish?
Jeff's worst coach of the week.
Yeah, so I guess I'd love to give it to Jeff, but I just feel like going with the lowest point total is just, a little lazy. So I'm gonna kick it to your other slacking co-host this week and pick on Nick. I just feel like, Jeff just didn't have an opportunity to cover. He got absolutely blown out, and really nothing in his bench that screams, "Hey, I could have won this game." Mm-hmm. Been there, done that this year. We've been a pretty consistent feature on that drop this week or this season, and so has Jeff as himself. So I pick on Nick a little bit, particularly the flex spot. Again, that 22 personnel package could have won him the game. Austin Hooper, not going to say Trevor Siemian should have started instead of Russell Wilson. I mean, you're going to start Russ every single week, but in that flex spot, you scroll down a little deeper, Kendrick Bourne just absolutely exploded. Really hasn't been too terrible. But you play Cobb, trusting the chemistry with Rodgers. However, Rodgers is coming off another, just bizarre off-field, distraction really ahead of this past week, and just didn't pan out for him. But yeah, Taint, worst coach of the week.
Yeah, even it's in the group text going into the week. He had asked the question, is it Cobb, is it Bourne, is it James Washington? And he actually settled on James Washington and then swapped him out as soon as Ben wasn't starting at that game, which I can't say is necessarily a bad choice. But Pittsburgh was down a couple pass catchers, and that late swap too was the difference, right? Another 5 points, and he takes this win. So a lot of options he had there. So yeah, I got no problem with Nick as the worst coach of the week here. All right, well, with some of these matchups out of the way, I got one last thing to toss your guys' way.
Hecht's overly salted kern.
I'm a bigger chunks of corn in my crop.
So the Hecht's overly salted corn. Troy, I'm going to lead it off to you, but Joe can chime in whenever he wants.
I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks offensive players the rest of the way as my Hecht's overly salted corn. Heard a lot of, big name NFL analysts, screaming about Russell Wilson, coming back, and it's the freshest he's ever been in November, and watch out for Seattle and yada, yada, yada. But, nothing against Russ, future Hall of Famer. His resume speaks for itself. But as a team, when the team was the most successful, I do believe they had a pretty dominant defense, couldn't throw the ball on them, and probably had one of the most feared running games I can remember in the last 20 years. Just honestly, no one wanted to deal with beast mode. Probably should have won another Super Bowl if not for just an absolutely awful play call. And then Pete Carroll, just defensive guy. In terms of an offensive game plan out ahead of Green Bay. Just expecting too much out of Russ coming off a IR, I believe, but regardless, off an injury, it's like, let's just roll out the rocks and let's rock, baby. Not a whole lot of innovation in that offense. A lot of off script, Russ magic dependent. I do not like Seattle the rest of the way, and I would proceed with caution if I have any fantasy relevant pass catcher really on that offense, or Russ himself. Mm-hmm. So that's my overly salted corn.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. They looked pretty ugly. It looked like a team who brought a guy off IR like 2 weeks too early. So, I know when he had that pin put in his finger, everyone was saying it was going to be, I can't remember, I think it was 8 weeks was like the prediction, and everyone touts Russell for being such a fast healer, but being a fast healer is not really a thing. Like, some injuries just happen to heal, but for a person to be a fast healer, I don't really believe. The doctors I follow on Twitter, the fantasy doctors, don't really believe that either. And it just looked like a guy who wasn't right, a guy who they should have given a week or two. It's not like Geno had actually just played probably his best game. Obviously the Packers is a big matchup for them. Their team is starting to hit that point where they needed to pick up a win, but that just didn't, they should have been able to see the throws he missed in practice and known he wasn't going to be ready for that game.
Well, and that's a real defense. I mean, Lions fan here, you're not gonna find a bigger Packers hater, but at the same time, I'm not stupid enough to disrespect them. That's a real defense this year. They are top 5 in scoring or points allowed defense and passing defense. So I don't know what you expect, coming into this week, but you walk away bitching about the officials. Pete Carroll, shut your mouth, dude. Like, you got shut out by a team that kicked your ass. I just feel like it creates a situation where excuses are okay. He's kind of loose with the locker room as it is. Defensive guy giving up 2 firsts for Jamal Williams and a $70 million contract there at the safety spot. They say that, the Russ Lockett connection is worth $210 million to that organization. You're just, better show me something in the last stretch of the season here. Mm-hmm. But I don't like their chances. That's a good division, and San Fran just beat the shit out of the Rams. Mm-hmm. I think it's tough sledding for Seattle the rest of the way.
Yeah, Joe. Anything else on the overly salted Kern? I know you're. This is your take now too, so you got to defend it.
Yeah. So, I think Seattle was lucky to get out of there only 17-0. I mean, you look at what their defense has done all year, and Green Bay's had a lot of shit off the field the last 2 weeks now. And then, you get Aaron Jones going down, but I thought that Seattle was very lucky to get out of there, only losing 17-0. I thought once they got up, I thought it could have gotten really ugly, but Green Bay was, I don't want to make excuses for them and say they were distracted, but it'll be interesting to see down the stretch what Seattle does. And like you guys said, I think Russell Wilson is arguably probably one of the worst years he's had, in a while, even though he has been hurt, and I get that, and I think they brought him back too early, but and then their backfield too, Alex Collins, and I think getting Chris Carson back will help them a little bit, but we'll see what they can do down the stretch.
Yeah. Well, boys, I appreciate you coming on. I gotta throw the shout out to the amount of SCLSU gear that I see. We got shirts on both sides. I see the Bobby Boucher jersey in the background. This is big time. This is exactly what we want to see. So
we got the official beer, the Mud Dogs here. Got this nice cold Busch Light.
Go baby.
The orange digital camo.
Gotta be the orange can.
Colorway compliant.
Gotta have it.
Oh, all right. Well, we appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for coming on and filling in for the hosts. I think you did a better job than the hosts, if I'm being honest. But
We think so too.
all right. Well, thanks again, guys. Good luck the rest of the season, except for week 13. Yeah, or 12. No luck week 12. Other than that, though, all you guys.
Thanks for having us, Bush.
Yeah,
Good luck to you
thanks,
as well.
Have a good one.
Thanks,
All
Fish.
right.
All right. Well, glad to be back from that. It was a fun interview. It was a little bit different, Nick. Different than we normally do.
It was real fun. I was definitely there for that, and it was a great old time. Hey, Troy being a dick and calling me worst coach of the week, but I kind of agree with him. I mean, I did have a couple plays there over Cobb, and I was contemplating it a lot most of the prior Sunday morning, so it's tough.
Yeah. I think you earned it. So I agree with Troy that it doesn't always belong going to the lowest point scorer. It really
true.
belongs going to someone who could have won. So, well, with all that, Nick, you're still in the lead, 30-31, despite a rough double up. Really having a 1-6 week. That's not good for you. But I was 4-3. Jeff was 3-3. So, I pulled the 28-33. So I'm 2 games back from you. Jeff is looks like 3 or 2.5 games back from you. So we're catching up. This is a little bit of room there, but all right. With all that, let's hop into the matchups.
Dive on into the Husky League matchups.
Husky League matchups. We got the SCLSU Mud Dogs at 3-7 taking on Benny and the Jets at 7-3. The Jets are a 5-point favorite in this one. Nick, I'm gonna toss it to you first. What you got?
Oh, you weren't going to toss it to Jeff on this one first?
Oh yeah, Jeff. Why don't you?
I got Ben. Okay, thanks, Jeff. All right,
Jeff
back
does have
to
Ben.
me. Yeah, I know. Back to me here. It's a close one. Actually, the spread changed a little bit. It has the Mud Dogs favored, but I think I'm going to take Ben in this one. I can't remember. How did he do last week? Was it tough? That's not doing the recaps. It's kind of hard. I didn't think he had a great game, right?
Who, Ben?
Last week? Yeah.
Yeah, Ben put up 100. He had a rough game. Rogers had a down game.
Rogers had nothing, yeah.
Lockett did nothing. Stephon Diggs finally came on, though. So
Yeah, McKissick, actually, Gibby did pretty well in that game.
totally backward script last week, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to happen, but I'm taking Benny in this one. Connor still lead guy there. Seattle's defense not great. Actually, that was a low-scoring game. That Seattle game, I did not think that was going to go that way. But yeah, I mean, a couple tough matchups. I think Seattle gets more more practice time with Russell Wilson. Lockett should see better than what did he have last week, like 4 or something, 2.
Rough week.
So I think I'm going to roll with Benny on this one.
Yeah, and this one, this is by far the healthiest and the best that the Mud Dogs roster has looked in quite some time. Having Will Fuller, assuming he goes, I don't really know if he is or not, but he's got him in there right now. Christian Kirk, Emmanuel Sanders. Kirk's been getting a lot of work with Hopkins, battling an injury. Jeff Wilson looks like he'll get some extra run with Elijah Mitchell with the broken finger. So definitely a good-looking Mud Dog roster, but I still got to go with Ben. Ben's been consistently putting up a lot of points, and I don't think that there's any reason to think that that's just going to suddenly change now, and he's gonna lose in this matchup. So I'm gonna roll Ben as well. So it's a clean sweep for all 3 of us taking Benny in this one. Anything else on that?
No, let's hit her.
It's tough, man. It feels like these matchups are going to go by so quick without a third person to talk through them. But that's the way it goes. So moving on to our next matchup, we got Grizzly Adams at 5-5 taking on Old Man Joe at 4-6. So Grizz is a 16-point favorite in this one. What's the pick here, Jeff?
Oh, what is Jeff at here? I want to take Cooley.
Oh, Jeff's got Cooley. Oh, all right. Good analysis there too. Nick, what are you seeing in this one with Cooley and Joe?
I think I'm going to take Joe with this one. I don't know how that's going to shake out. Is Cam Newton the starter for Carolina?
It's looking like he will be, yes.
I have no idea connection-wise with Moore. I know he's Robbie Anderson and him are boys from back in the day. So I think Moore last game, I mean, he hasn't been over 10 points in so long, it feels like. But for some reason against that crappy Washington team, I think he's going to do a little bit more here. And A.J. Brown, crappy week last week. That wide receiver number – who was that other wide receiver that I tried to pick up?
Marcus Johnson, that Cooley got.
Marcus Johnson, yeah. I mean, you got to think 4 targets, 1 reception. He's going to do better against that crappy Houston defense. But Foreman might go off. Who knows? Renfro, he's been pretty solid since the Ruggs debacle. But it's been touchdowns. It's just he scored touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Put him in double digits. I don't think that continues. I think it's kind of about Montgomery. He didn't play last. Oh, did he play last?
He did.
It was
he
bye
played
last
really
week.
well. He was his bye last week, but the week before he played.
Yeah, right. The week before he played. Okay, so that's good. Him coming back. I got old man Joe here.
Yeah,
16 points is just too steep. That's basically where I'm at.
16's a lot, and I agree with a lot of what you said. I like the Joe Burrow play. I think Carter's going to be solid. I think Monty has a good game. AJ Brown should. I think DJ's got to upgrade with Cam because you just can't downgrade because it was so bad, right? Like the worst case scenario is it's more of the same. So I do like a lot of the matchups on that side, but I am going to take Cooley in this one. I agree with you. I like the floors of Deontay and Renfro. And really Myles Gaskin, he's been, either on or off, and there's been nothing in between. Going up against that Jets defense is just terrible against running backs. I got to think that Myles Gaskin has a solid day today. And so I got to go with Cooley in this one. I think he covers and gets that win. But moving on to our next matchup, we got I Am Left-Handed at 7-3, taking on Archduke Fish at 6-4. The lefties are a 2-point favorite in this one, and it is our
Hot diggity dog! It's the game of the week.
Game of the week here. A lot going on. The two highest scoring teams in the league. I'm going to talk just briefly about especially my side of the ball, right? I'm a little nervous with Jonathan Taylor going up against that tough Buffalo D, Saquon going up against that tough Tampa Bay D. Not great matchups there. Hollywood and Rashad Bateman both missed practice today, so a lot of question marks. But I don't think either of those things are serious. They haven't seemed to be. There's been no reports that makes me think they'll actually miss the game. So I'm going to go with myself here. Darren Waller hasn't been what Darren Waller's been, and that's pretty much the biggest thing, right? Kittle's been hot, and Waller's been pretty rough. I think I keep pace at all the other positions, right? These are pretty stacked rosters going up against each other when you look at it. I think I do enough, especially being the 2-point dog in this one. I'm going to take me, Nick. What about you?
I am going to take Kyle, actually. If Chubb plays, he's trending towards playing here. That Detroit, I don't know if they're going to split carries, what kind of shape he's in, all that other stuff, but that's juicy against Detroit. I think he's going to put up a lot of points. Tyreek, that Kansas City-Dallas game is going to be high scoring, over under 56. Jeez Louise. I'm like you were talking about those matchups on the other side, Jonathan Taylor and Barkley. Tough. And that's most of the reason I'm going with Kyle here. It's pretty much even line, 2 points. Okay. I just think Kyle's going to pull it off here.
For sure. Yeah, I don't blame you for that. It's a tough matchup for me, if nothing else. So I know what's Jeff's pick in this one. I got something to highlight for Jeff.
Jeff's keep on cooking.
Who wants some man meat?
I do. I want some man meat.
In honor of Jeff, even though I don't like it, I don't agree with it. He's got Tyreek Hill. That'll probably happen, right? I don't really see why Tyreek Hill wouldn't put up a good game in this matchup. But what's Jeff's pick in this one?
He's got Mike. Also, I gotta highlight my garbage time all-star.
Nick's garbage time all-star.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage.
Thanks. So garbage time all-star here, I think is going to be Foreman, that Tennessee-Houston game. I think Tennessee is going to get out big, and he's going to score something late.
God, that brings my
I know.
question. God. Do I start
know.
him or do I start Rashad Bateman? I'm at least sitting Jacoby tonight so I can mull it over for a couple days. But it's a toss-up between those. It's tough. I know that the moment I do is the moment they just decide to give all the run to Adrian Peterson against a terrible defense out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's exactly what it'll be too.
If Jeremy McNichols sits, if he doesn't make it through concussion protocol, it'll be tough to sit Foreman to play two Baltimore receivers. So I don't know.
He looks so much better running the ball than AP even last week too.
The problem is I feel like that's a trap because he does. He looks better.
Trap.
Better than terrible doesn't mean good.
Very true.
And I think that's the trap. I think you look and you're like, oh wow, look at him. He looks nice out there. But that's just because you watched Adrian Peterson get nowhere. Peterson has had some nice moves. He's had some nice spins but yeah, nobody looked great there, so I'm not excited about it.
But Houston,
that's the only reason I want to do it.
Yeah.
I might still do it. All right, moving on to our next matchup. We got the Taint Ticklers at 5-5 taking on the Aaron Rodgers football team at 8-2. Football team is a 10-point favorite in this one. Nick, giving it to you first. What you got?
I have me just because I have to. I got to win these games here coming down the stretch. Kamara I don't think he practiced today. It doesn't look great. I was going to roll with Kamara and Ingram. I mean, Ingram was a decent replacement last week, so if that could be fine. I just have to slide with one of these crapshoots down here. I mean, I think Galladay's not on the injury report right now. Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, that's disgusting. But I might roll there.
A-Rob's missed two practices in a row too, so that's got to give you some confidence confidence in the sense that you're picking between garbage options. You at least kind of got that decision made for you.
One garbage option's off the table.
True. So it's Kendrick Bourne or Kenny Galladay.
Sterling Shepard, I don't even know if he's practiced, but
Sterling, yeah, true.
Still gross.
Working off to the sides with trainers Thursday.
Ew. He'll get hurt again in the game if I start him. So
the moment he starts. So you're taking you in this one. I'm gonna take Tony. 10's not enough for me to fade this. I think that Eckler's got a tough matchup against Pittsburgh, but he's gonna get that receiving work where it won't really matter. Swift has been getting an insane workload last week, especially. Troy mentioned that quite a bit. That Swift, they're just giving him tons of work out of there. So if Jamal Williams misses again, that's especially true. Yeah, I think Tony's got enough. I think he's going to cover this. I do think that Ingram without Kamara against a Philly defense is probably a really good play. I think he has a really nice game. What Antonio Gibson does, who knows? But I do think that your team isn't necessarily crippled with Kamara out. Like it maybe would have been earlier in the year. So, what's Jeff got in this one?
He has me.
Okay, that's bold. I like it.
Bold. Good analysis.
All right. Speaking of Jeff, moving on to our next matchup, we got Jay's Juggernauts at 1-8 taking on Cobra Kai at 4-5. The Jugs are a 5-point favorite. I don't remember a game where the Jugs have been favored this year, but Jugs coming in as a 5-point favorite. Looking at it now, I see that it's swung a little bit. So why don't we call it even? It feels wrong to have Jeff as a 5-point favorite. Let's make it an even line.
I like it.
I think that's a fair adjustment to make. I'm going to assume Jeff's got himself here.
Yes, he does. So even line's fine.
Yeah. So Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. If I was Jeff, I would have really wished Damian Harris would have not been able to be back for this game. I was texting him. He's playing both of them. I don't think that that's bad against Atlanta. I think both can have a productive game. So I don't think he's necessarily buried there. I think that's better than starting the two Raiders backs against Cincy. So yes. I guess from that aspect, it's a step up. I think Tua's got a solid week in him this week. Whether or not Dallas Goedert makes it back from concussion protocol is going to be a big swing here because him versus Evan Ingram is a pretty substantial, floor ceiling to me. This is a tough one. I think I'm gonna go Jeff. I think I'm gonna pull Jeff here. I don't trust what the Lions are doing with Hawk. I think Devontae Adams and Adam Thielen are both good plays. I think Devontae's great. Adam Thielen is up in the air. That Green Bay defense has been really good. Elijah Mitchell and James Robinson both on the injury report. James Robinson's barely practicing with a knee, so he might go but be limited. Elijah Mitchell with that broken finger, they might limit him just because they don't need him against Jacksonville. It's tough. There's a lot of question marks there, so I'm going to roll Jeff. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I'm also going to go Jeff. I actually think that Green Bay Minnesota game, historically those are high scoring games. It's 47.5 the over under. I think it's going to be under for that game, and that's kind of the reason I think I'm going to roll with Jeff. I don't think he gets the production out of Vontae and Thielen in this game. That Stevenson Harris, he just loves starting backs from the same backfield. He just loves limiting his upside. And he doesn't have an option, I know, but
he's got Darnell Mooney. He could, he should probably throw him in for Khalif Raymond. But
they're all gross. I'm still taking Jeff though. I got you, baby.
I got no problem with that. That's pretty solid. So, moving on to our last matchup, we got Ball is Life at 6-4, taking on Lick McCaffrey-Madak at 4-6. Ball is a 20-point favorite in this one. Another hefty line. Last week could barely pull it out. But Nick, how you see it shaking out this week?
Good God, I have no idea for this one. 20 points is so high. I'm looking at the lineups right now. I think I'm taking them, though. I think I'm taking the 20 points there.
If I was you, I would probably do the same. I think Daniel Jones has a fine game against Tampa, and then Najee and AJ Dillon I think are just going to absolutely eat out there. DK and Mike Williams both give me some pause. I think they're big names, but I don't think they're going to have great weeks. If Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back this week, that's just going to be bad because I don't think either is startable. Him or Daniel. I think in the first week back there, it's going to be real split, and I don't think that there's a lot there. So I think that would probably be the worst thing for John. But Allen Lazard and Marvin Jones don't give me much more confidence than any of those guys. I think Najee and McCaffrey is pretty much going to be a wash. I think both of them are going to have insane days. The Chargers' run D is not good. So that's really Jordan's big advantage usually, and usually he'd have Aaron Jones, and John wouldn't be able to start AJ Dillon.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That was a big swing in this game. So yeah, I'm gonna take John as well. What's Jeff got here?
He has John.
Jeff has John. So. All right. Well, I know we kind of ran through all the matchups pretty quick, but I know we had a little longer interviews, so trying to keep the show right about our normal time slot. But let's hop into the classics.
Ask me the questions, Bridgekeeper. I'm not afraid.
This here's Mike's. Will it happen?
All right, Mike, because there's no one else here, I'll take this one. Will Ben win the B&B division?
It will happen.
That was Mike's. Will it happen?
All right, boys. Let's hop into it.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Shut up, baby, I know it. Absolute guarantee.
All right, Jeff, I'm going to hit it to you first. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to score 2 touchdowns this week. Oh, thanks, Jeff.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Oh, thanks, Jeff.
Nick, I'm giving it to you next.
Oh, I got 2 down here. I don't know which one I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to say Harris will outscore Stevenson.
Ooh.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
All right. Well, I'm going to say that Hunter Henry, who has 7 touchdowns in his last 7 games, continues that trend. Another touchdown against Atlanta tonight for Hunter Henry.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Yeah.
Well, wrap that up pretty quick. You can actually get to dinner with your boss on time.
And my boss's boss.
And your boss.
Yeah.
Yay.
All
right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Good luck this week, unless you're playing one of us. Have a good one.
Webster's Dictionary defines radish as A swollen, pungent-tasting edible root high in potassium, which can help lower blood pressure. Or more importantly, 3 guys spitting nonsense and talking about fantasy football. Add salt and pepper and chomp into another episode next time. See y'all later.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.